Hello, and welcome back to the Quad Life. Well, I've had a couple questions come back, and one of them is going to be answered in today's video, and that is about friends or relationships. Well, unfortunately, when someone or something is a little bit different from the ordinary, then people usually shy away from whatever that is. And for children and adults that have spinal cord injuries and use a wheelchair or whatever devices they need, like a ventilator, as I do, well, the first thing other people usually see is all this stuff. So they see the wheelchair or the vent and all the things that hang on the back of my chair, and they usually don't see the person, at least not right away. And therefore it's usually pretty difficult to make or keep friends. I've had many accounts of someone that received a spinal cord injury, say in their late teens or as an adult, and if they were active in things like, say, motocross, bicycling, or that kind of thing, and had friends through sports, well, often those friends quickly leave and don't really stay around. And I've also heard reports that people have woke up from being in a coma in the hospital and just realized they have a spinal cord injury and are received by a lawyer with divorce papers from their spouse. So unfortunately, it's not an easy situation to gain or keep friends. However, there are some special people, and it is not impossible to have friends. So for me, as a young kid, I was and am still not into sports of really any kind. And a lot of the other boys in my class, well, that's what they talked about a lot, was sports. So I really wasn't friends, or at least close friends, with the other boys in my class. There were a couple boys that also went to my church as well as school, and we saw each other frequently and were friendly toward each other, but we really didn't have much of, say, a close friendship that they would, say, frequently come over and play with whatever toy we were into at the time. But there was one friend that was the son of my dad's co-worker, Kyle, and he came over frequently through grade school and junior high, and we would play with Legos, Micro Machines, and something that's an antique now, but called Nintendo. They're one of the original ones. However, in school, I also had friends that were all female, and so I stayed with these friends all throughout junior high and high school. Right now, I do not have friends that are close by that are sawing down trees, but hopefully the sound isn't coming through too badly for you. But anyway, my group of gals that stayed with me all through high school. The principal called them my harem. So it was me and 5 or 6 girls that really hung out together. And again, I did have some male friends as well. The guy I was friends with in grade school and junior high, we kind of went different directions in high school. That we had different interests, and we weren't definitely weren't enemies or anything of that sort. Just as we grew, we got different interests. Mine was in computers and technology, and his was elsewhere. So I developed another close friendship with another boy that was a year younger than me, and still is, even though now we're adults in our 40s, and we still remain friends today. But a big part of having friends is also where we meet and socialize. And for 7 years, I went to a camp called Champ Camp as a camper, and that was a camp for kids that were just like me, that needed a ventilator or some kind of mechanical breathing assistance, either all day long or during part of the day. And when you have kids that have very similar needs, then you tend to become friends with them pretty quick. So I had a couple of friends at camp that I got to know fairly well, or at least the week at camp. Most of them are no longer living, or really don't have any contact with them anymore. But that was at least the case when I was in grade school. And I have worked at camp as a volunteer counselor for 16 years, and have several of the other counselors that I'm friends with and communicate on social media at least a few times a year. But as an adult, then, we tend to think about long-lasting relationships, such as dating and marriage and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, again, this is just like being in grade school, that when something is out of the ordinary, then people tend to shy away. And for marriage, that's kind of the same thing. That most people that I know that were injured at a young age, and have especially a high level injury like me, that they have not married and maybe have tried dating, but it never lasted well. And really, that is an unfortunate part of having a spinal cord injury, that for those that do end up getting married or having a significant other, they often end up turning into a kind of live-in caregiver. Part of loving your spouse, of course, is taking care of their physical needs as well. Well, as we've been seeing, I have many of those. And, a spouse is rightly able to help with those, but that's really their only relationship, is working on daily needs, then that can burn the person out pretty quick. And someone with a spinal cord injury that is married, they are able to have children. Either the man or the woman has an injury, say the mechanisms do work, let's say, but they don't always respond or work as normally, and couples that want to have children may have to seek a lot of medical help in order to have a family, but it does still work. And the last thing about the challenge of marriage is that with funding. So I talked a while back about insurance, and part of my insurance is through the state and federal, but that has very strict income requirements. And if a couple actually gets legally married and has all the state paperwork, then the spouse's income counts for both of them. So for a high-level person like mine, I will likely lose my Medicaid then. And then the only choice is for the spouse to become a caregiver. So I know one friend of mine that in 2015 that he did a marriage ceremony, but he and his wife did not do any paperwork. So he called her his unlawful wife. And so they were married in one sense, but not according to the state. And unfortunately, she just passed away in early September. But they had about 7 years that they were married, at least as far as they were concerned and in God's eyes. But that is most what it entails for friendships and relationships. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time on the Quad Life. Bye for now.